And just like that, we back. Another episode of What's Your Name? Unpopular Opinion. We just gonna run them all together today, man, because this is a culminating episode going over the concluding episode in the series, The Evolution of the Black Quarterback. That right there. It was a good show. It was a great show. You deserve a standing ovation for this project. All those involved, and especially Mr. Michael Vick. Hats off to you. Salute to you guys. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. And shout out to you. Let me get my notes. And my children and done to my notes. Oh Lord. All right, I'm gonna have to deal with that in a moment. But hats off. Hats off. All right. In the final episode of Evolution of the Black Quarterback, we see that in 2023, history was made. Sip my water. In 2023, the first year that 3 black quarterbacks were selected in the first round. Three. Now, Michael Vick, he goes to the draft. That's the opening scene of this particular episode. And he talked about, hey, I see that history is going to be made. We had, I want to say, I can't remember the exact order of the picks, but we do know that there were the first 3 quarterbacks taken were black. So Bryce Young was taken number 1 overall to the Panthers. Followed by C.J. Stroud, taken by the Texans at number 2. And the 4th pick was Anthony Richardson, taken by the Indianapolis Colts at number 4. But that was the first time in history that the first 3 quarterbacks selected were all African American. Furthermore, in that episode, we sit down. I'm just gonna keep it all the way funky. We sat down with Russell Wilson to discuss his experiences and get some, feedback on him being a black quarterback. It was interesting to note some of the things that he talked about, that he always played baseball and he didn't play football until, I want to say, maybe junior high school, maybe, or it could have been high school. But anyway, the very first game that he played, he won that game 60-7. And I think he said that the quarterback got hurt and he had to go in, and he didn't have any experience, any practice, reps, anything like that. He drew plays in the dirt, and they went out and smoked them. They went out and smacked them. They went out and thrashed them, thrashed their opponent 60-7. And then he became the starting QB. All right. That's interesting. But he's always been a baseball player, and he's always been challenged because he talked about how his father challenged him to graduate early. He was going to have to graduate in 3.5 years or something like that, maybe 3 years. But he wanted him to do that to not only challenge him to strive for excellence, but it also prepare him to be able to kind of control his destiny, because he was offered to play with the major league. He was offered a contract for major league, and he could actually pursue that, but he also could remain eligible to play football because of the fact of him already graduating. Pops was thinking. Now, he did discuss an instance where he experienced some racism. He was getting ready to play a round of golf at the country club, and he was prepping by, he got there early, decided he was going to eat some breakfast, and some Caucasian gentleman, some white gentleman approached him and told him, hey, breakfast is only for golfers only. Excuse me? Breakfast is only for golfers only. And I want to say this was after he actually won the Super Bowl. So how ironic is that? No matter how high you rise, there's always some that want to keep you at the lowest point. So the guy really confronted him and just said that golfers are only allowed to eat breakfast. Like, what you think I'm doing here? And I mean, I can even take it a step further. What if he worked there, so the workers couldn't eat there? So, but he was out of line. He was way out of pocket on that. But that was one interesting thing about Russell Wilson. But he had some really poignant moments and points that he made about just his experience being the second African American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. That was a little known fact that I didn't even know. So it's really cool just to kind of get him in. And Russ is Russ. He's different, but that just lets you know the diversity of black quarterbacks itself. So we can't just put them in a box. They aren't just one thing. They are a multitude and a wide, vast, broad spectrum of things. Great things at that. They went on to interview Cameron Newton. Yeah, my guy from Atlanta, Georgia. Went to Florida for a minute. Went to Blinn College, won the championship, came to the Auburn University, War Eagle. Won a national championship. First overall pick in the NFL draft. Had a very successful career. Went to a Super Bowl, didn't win a Super Bowl. Also, MVP, set a lot of records and did a lot of great things, and nobody played the game like Cam. Superman. Now, one of the things that Vic discussed was how oftentimes they are suggested or encouraged to play another position. But the thing about it was, once again, Cam had a father as well in his life to say, look, if you play in this game and you play in this position, don't let nothing deter you from being a quarterback. And he did just that. And he is, and he was, and he will always be one of the greatest to ever play the game. Just like Vic. And they talked about how Vic inspire him. And Michael Vick was told that he wanted to be a DB. And I think Cam, he was like a linebacker or something in Little League or whatever, but he ended up changing positions and played quarterback. And once he started playing quarterback, he never looked back. Now, they discussed how it's important to have an impact. And that's something that was a good topic. That was a good question that Cam brought to Vic. Because while Michael Vick has not won the Super Bowl, Cam has not won a Super Bowl. Uh, Warren Moon never won the Super Bowl, but he got them 5 in a row Grey Cups. Who knows how many he could have really won if he had the opportunity to play in the NFL and just be able to just play and not have to deal with all the nonsense. Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. He hadn't won a Super Bowl, but we see that it's only one Michael Vick. It's only one Lamar Jackson. It's only one Cam Newton. It's only one Warren Moon. It's only one Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's only one Donovan McNabb. It's only one whoever you want to call it. You know, the Cordell Stewarts, the Quincy Carters, the Ronda Cunningham. It's only one of them. They should have maybe the same skin tone or same racial makeup, but it's only one. And all these guys names that I just threw out there, all of them had great impact. Some of them had a high impact, a great impact than others, but all of them have great impact. Now, Mahomes has been fortunate enough to get both the impact as well as the championships. He's in that sweet spot. But I think impact is something that can't really be quantified. Championships are great. Yeah, it goes down in the record book. But sometimes, even when you play sports, sometimes the things that don't show up on the stat sheet are the things that matter the most. Because I just remember I was looking at something earlier where Rondo was talking about, that's a basketball player, how certain things that he did to help them win were things that were not going to show up on the stat sheet. Certain things that Vic did, that Cam did, are things that did not equal out the championship, but it changed the game. It revolutionized the game. It evolved the game. It grew the game totally. It Kaepernick. I mean, just the list goes on. So championships are cool, but you know they always want to debate about who's the greatest and whatever. And some people feel like someone that has not even won a championship is the greatest, or someone that unless won one championship is the greatest. And then some look at the one that has won the most championships as the greatest. And some right now look at Patrick Mahomes as the greatest, even though he has not won as many as Tom Brady. But I look at it like this: people are great at doing what they do best, and you can be a GOAT at that. You can be the greatest of all time at that. Your superpower is your superpower. So I feel like it's a lot of GOAT, but just because you don't have the same superpowers as Superman or the same superpowers as Batman or Thor or whatever, you're still a superhero. You're still something that is an elite talent, you know, an elite skill set, an elite intellect. Come on now, man. They went on to interview Dak Prescott, and he was running back into the 6th grade. That was pretty interesting. And he also talked about how he's a mixed race, and they transitioned from Cam Newton to Dak Prescott, and they showed a lot of the stuff that centered around the struggle because we talk about how sports reflect reality of society and the struggle, the injustice, and things of that nature. And Dak Prescott, he highlighted a point where he actually made a pledge to get better police training to help them to be more equipped and prepared and mentally stable to serve and protect. So he was looking at it from a macro as well as a micro perspective of okay, while we need to make sure that we don't harm innocent people, we need to also make sure the people that are out there to serve and protect realize the purpose and the responsibility that they have and make sure they are better prepared to carry out their duty. Human to human, person to person, officer to civilian. Train and correct. And we can all be better. And then from there, we went on and sat down with Colin Kaepernick. And when he was 8 years old, his dad became a coach because before then he was not a quarterback. But then he was the quarterback and never looked back. It was really cool to get some perspective on him and just to see him talk about his experience as a black quarterback, and then also talking about how he was kneeling to highlight something, but he was kneeling out of respect because he didn't want to sit. He felt like he could kneel because that was more of an honorable approach. And we know that when he initially decided that he was going to do something, he talked to a veteran who said that he felt like kneeling would not be disrespectful. So he thought out his actions, but people really took it the wrong way. It his purpose and his message got misconstrued along the way. It was not received in the way he intended it for because the media frenzy just took it over and other people started tapping in with their points of views, perspectives, and opinions and just began to trash the man without really necessarily getting why he was doing what he was doing and the approach that he took to do what he did. And he ended up being pushed out in blackball, which is sad and unfortunate because once again we can see that sometimes you can make an action, you can make a choice, and it may not be anything that is hurting, harming, or inflicting pain or negativity on someone. But if somebody else don't like it, that can cost you. So you got to realize that your actions, your choices, your decisions, they all have consequences, and it's all a sacrifice. They spoke briefly with Lamar Jackson, and they had some good moments to kind of compare the parallels of their skill sets and just also contrast some of it because some of the things that they talked about was, hey, I did this, but I didn't do that. But it was just cool to just see that exchange because I feel like while most of these quarterbacks they have some resemblance in certain small areas, I feel like Lamar and Vic parallel most in comparison. But it was cool to just see them chop it up, you know. And then they closed it out with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes, he played baseball until the seventh grade, and he was a linebacker and a safety. And then he transitioned to QB his junior year in high school. And look at how great his career has turned out. We know that his father was a major league baseball player, so he could have been a two-sport athlete. I'm just saying, as well as a lot of these guys that could have been two-sport, three-sport, four-sport, your sport, my sport type of athlete. But it was just great, man, and just really get some historical context, some insight, some input, perspective, and all that. This was a good series, man. I love what they did with it. I wish they would have done more with it, but that's just me. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated by it all. But it was really cool to just really have this put together. I hope they do a second version to just kind of get get a little bit more time from some of the people we weren't able to get time with, or get a little bit more time with some of the people that we did spend some time with. Who knows? But they did close out with doing a lot of showing a lot of homage and appreciation to the game, the athletes, the quarterbacks, and just the impact, the overall impact. I say it again, the overall impact that it has had on the game and society and the country. So, evolution of the black quarterback, more thumbs up than I got, more stars than I can give it. Hey man, this was a good one. I think you should go check it out. But that's just my opinion. Because I have my opinion, you have your opinion, and it just might be an unpopular opinion. But I'm gonna close it all the way out by just saying, since I said it's a mashup show, the evolution of a black quarterback showed the identity and showed the name. And remember, what's your name? Remember, we all have three names in our life. The name you're given at birth, the name you're called by friends and family and peers, and the name that you create for yourself. Make a great name for yourself, good people. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Salute. And once again, hats off.